Thank you to those who have subscribed to this channel. If you have not already, you can subscribe to this channel with a simple click of the subscribe button. It helps support this channel and keeps it going. Thanks again. Hi, this is Joanne with Creative Writing Study Group, and I am here with Emma G. Rose. She is an author of Nothing's Ever Lost, and also another book, which I don't know the name of. What name is that?
Oh, Near Life Experience.
Yeah, that's it, Near Life Experience. And she was a journalist who was journaling. No, she was investigating, and she had let's say a life experience that made her realize that she wanted to turn to something that affected you more, I would assume, and turn to fiction writing, which I have found. I have read some journalists' books, fiction books, and they are very good. So I wondered if journalists could write fiction, and they can.
We can.
I think of who is it? Jack Trapper, I think his name. Is that it? Or Jake Trapper on CNN. He came out with a book that was pretty good. But so what I am talking to Emma about today is self-publishing, and one of the things I did was I went to my group and I asked them what questions they would like to have answered. And I'm going to start with to me, most obvious is, why did you choose self-publishing over traditional?
Okay, that's a great question. And let's start with a terminology thing, which is that I like to call it independent publishing.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because, as we as writers know, words have power. And the term self-publishing often brings up the idea of this person who is like printing little books and then has copies of them stacked in their trunk and is trying to like sell these like Xerox copies of their book, right? And I don't like that mentality. I like the idea that I'm independent.
I'm gonna change my words now. I like that too. You're right. Independent. How do you say it? Independent published or?
I'm independently published.
Independently published, yes.
Yeah. And I like that. And I talk about my independent press, which is Imperative Press Books. And I like that terminology because I am an independent person. And to be independent means that all of the responsibility is on me and all of the reward comes to me. So that means that I get the largest chunk of the income from a book. But it also means that if I don't market the book, or if I make less than professional decisions about the book, well, that's going to come back on me too. So I have to be really knowledgeable about the publishing world and about the market for my book. And then I also have to take on the responsibility of marketing and promoting and doing all of those things that if I were traditionally published, theoretically you would have someone to do for you.
As I understand it, when you're never mind. Go ahead.
I think there's a misunderstanding among authors that if they just get a publishing deal, then the publishing house is going to take care of everything. Mm. And in reality, even with a publishing deal, and I know people who have publishing deals who are traditionally published, you're still responsible for a lot of your own marketing, a lot of your own publicity. If you want to do a book tour, unless you're in the New York Times bestseller list, you're probably planning that book tour yourself. You're probably doing some or a lot of the management of your own website. You're probably talking to fans, creating your own newsletter, doing all of those things that I do anyway. But you might have a little bit of support or a little bit of guidance from the publishing house, but you're not going to have this full-on marketing push like you see, best-selling authors get. And they get that because they're bringing in a lot of money. So there's a give and take. Publishing houses are betting that you're going to bring them in a lot of money. And if you don't immediately sell billions of copies, well, billions is a bit of an exaggeration, but hundreds of thousands of copies, then they may choose to not invest in you anymore. And that's heartbreaking. And we knew somebody actually in one of my writing groups who had the traditional deal, didn't sell enough copies right off the bat, and the publishing house dropped her. which
And I am guessing going back into the industry makes it difficult too once you're out.
yeah, I think that, I mean, there are people who have successfully done both. And
Mhm.
I do know a few people who have successfully either independently published for a while and then signed with a traditional publisher or gone the other direction, but it's a huge learning curve.
Mhm.
And if you want to be fully responsible, if you're ready to take on that responsibility of this is my book, this is my baby, and I'm going to take care of it and bring it into the world, I think independent publishing is a great way to do that.
So I had a friend who had a independent publishing company, and one of the difficulties that she came across was that it didn't get into the big bookstores wouldn't accept the book if they knew it was an independent publisher. There was actually one that took on an independent published book, and then when found out, and it was selling well, and when they found out that it was independently published on Amazon, it was printed on Amazon, they pulled the book. And the author came back, and it was a small book, uh, book. I'm not going to name it, but and they said, she said, look, you're selling all these books and yada yada yada. Anyway, she got it back on the shelf, but this reluctance for booksellers, how do you handle that?
Okay, so you actually opened up several different questions there. One is, I think a lot of people believe that if they're published through Amazon, they're independently published. And that's not really true.
Oh, I
If
did
you
not
are
know that.
if you're published through Amazon and you use the Kindle Direct Publishing and you buy your ISBN from Amazon
Mm,
use their ASCII codes, what you're doing is listing Amazon as the publisher of record. You are not the publisher, they are. The
okay.
problem with that is that most brick and mortar stores, including small indie bookstores, see Amazon as a direct competitor. So it's as
Oh,
though you took a car, you took a Ford, and you drove to Chevrolet and were like, will you sell this for me? Well,
okay.
no.
Yeah.
So the first issue is that true independent publishing means I didn't use just Amazon to do it and use their codes and their system. It means I own my own ISBNs, I am the publisher of record. And so yes, my book is available on Amazon, but it does not belong to Amazon. It's not published by them. I don't have to have any permissions from them to do anything. And
Okay.
that's one of the reasons that those big publishers won't take the book.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people think, oh, just go to Amazon. And that's great if you want to sell only on Amazon or mostly on Amazon. If you do want to, as I do, want to be in independent bookstores, and I'm hugely in favor of independent bookstores. I love them. I think they're the center of many communities. And I want my book in an independent bookstore. If you know somebody who owns an independent bookstore, have them talk to me. I want the book there.
I
And
know
I've reached,
someone who may be interested, so
yay. Okay.
talk to me afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the other thing that we're bringing up is that yes, if you are independently published, truly independently published, it is difficult to get into, for example, Barnes and Noble
Yeah.
or Books a Million or any of those really big like chain stores that you think of. And that's because they have limited space on their shelves and they're really much like the big publishing houses. They're gambling on the big sellers. They're gambling on J.K. Rowling and those big name people who are going to sell hundreds, thousands, millions, billions. I don't even know what J.K. Rowling's up to now, but I bet it's billions of copies. So are you going to be on the shelves at Barnes and Noble as an independent publisher? Likely not, but it's not impossible as long as you do it correctly.
Okay.
And that means being fully independent or working with a small independent press that does not use Amazon as their method of publishing.
I hope you are enjoying this interview with Emma G. There is more to the interview. Check it out in the Creative Writing Study Group interview playlist, or I will have it in the info cards as they become available. Thanks.